Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we are going to be talking just a little bit about the NBA's Summer League. That Summer League did end on Monday night, just really a day or two ago at this point. So the whole thing is now over. We can talk a little bit about what Summer League was meant to do and whether or not it did it. So we are going to sort of dive right into it. Right at the start, though, we will say a congratulations for the Cleveland Cavaliers Summer League team. They were the Summer League champions. They get to enjoy their trophy. They get to actually get rings for this. I think that was something that I saw in a tweet that they started doing last year, actually giving rings to the Summer League team. So, those players get a little bit of hardware. Sure, it's, quote unquote, just Summer League, but it's something. But Cleveland Cavaliers win it. Meanwhile, Cam Whitmore of the Rockets was named Summer League MVP. He played in 6 games over the course of all of the combined Summer Leagues, averaged 19.3 points, 5.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 2.5 steals across those 6 games, and really sort of generated for us a nice storyline, right? Whitmore was a guy who, in the last draft, was projected to go sort of top 5, top 6. Instead, due to various concerns, he drops all the way to 20th before the Rockets pick him up. And then he plays Summer League, and he sort of puts some of those concerns and those doubts to rest with his performance. So already we got ourselves a nice little narrative to work with for the Summer League. And that sort of keys into the point that I was sort of talking about with whether Summer League does what it was supposed to, right? It delivered us an answer to a question that we had coming out of the draft in Cam Whitmore, and I think that's what we're going to focus on here. In terms of the players that we saw at Summer League, I've basically put them up into three general categories, right? Obviously this is not super in depth, but generally speaking, we could fit most of the players into three categories for Summer League. The first category was the sort of big names, the established prospects who were really just playing to be seen playing, right? Um, this is going to include guys like Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren. We can even throw in some non-rookie players here, although I guess technically Holmgren's not a rookie, but whatever. Non-rookie players like Benedict Mathurin. We saw Jaden Ivey, James Wiseman, Brandon Miller, back to the sort of recently drafted rookies, guys like that. Guys who were just playing to sort of be seen playing, right? The stats for them were maybe not the most impressive, although some of them did put up some good numbers. But the appearances for them weren't necessarily about showing off any of those stats, right? This was more of a health check for some of these players. Have them go out and play, one to 3 games to show the fan bases that they're healthy and they're ready for preseason. They're ready for training camp, effectively. So it wasn't about playing, 4 or 5 games. It wasn't about making a deep run in the tournament format bracket for the Summer League. It was just about getting these guys out there, seeing them in their jerseys, see them play, see they're fine, they're not hurt, they're ready to go. In the case of guys like maybe Mathurin and Ivy, you know, they're ready to improve upon what was a good first or second season for them. So that's the first category. Guys who are just there to sort of to be there and be seen and sort of check on their health. The second category here for Summer League was relatively high draft picks who were kind of looking to prove something, who were looking to alleviate some concerns, right? And obviously, the first guy in that category has to be Cam Whitmore, the guy who just won MVP, right? He had concerns coming out of the draft. But other guys who were picked relatively highly or maybe showed us a little burst of something in their rookie season and are looking to sort of prove that they can do that consistently. Guys like Jabari Smith Jr., Keontae George, Grady Dick all sort of fall into that category. In terms of the sort of promising rookie thing that I mentioned before, guys like Shaden Sharp as well, who really came on strong on the back end of the season, but really only showed us their stats in a limited time frame. Guys like that who wanted to come into Summer League, play themselves up a little bit, and sort of prove that they can be consistent, that they can contribute, that the team who picked them up didn't necessarily reach on a risky prospect. They went out and got a guy who's going to prove them right. So for players like that, they weren't looking to necessarily light up the scoreboards, although that certainly helps. Like Jabari Smith Jr. in particular just absolutely went out and had himself a couple of fantastic games. But for guys like this, it was less about your pure scoring output, and it was more about showing consistency in Summer League and proving your ability to work within the system in the way that you will need to in the regular season, right? Because all those guys that I mentioned, they all have a relatively clear spot on their roster, right? They're not fighting to get on a team. They were picked, top 15, top 20-ish, or had strong rookie seasons, and they're fairly certain that they are going to end up on their team's actual lineup when the regular season begins. But they need to earn playing time. That's going to be the big ticket issue for them. And showing that you could do sort of the little things to help contribute is always going to be valued. It's always going to be something that those coaching staffs pay extra attention to. And I think it would help those players see the floor more often than just pure scoring output, right? Going out there getting 25 to 30 points a game, that's great. That looks good. It's flashy. But in the regular season, the offense is not going to run through these guys. These rookies, these second-year guys, these undrafted players, they're not going to get 15 to 20 shots a night. That just will not happen. They're going to get a fraction of those shot opportunities compared to what they got here in Summer League. So the test for guys in that category was, okay, you can score, cool. I mean, pretty much all of these guys could score up through, high school, college, etc. But what other ways do you have to help the team, to contribute, to be consistent off the bench if we are going to use you in that capacity on a regular season NBA team? So those guys obviously did score when needed, but they were also looking for consistent performance, consistent ways to help the full NBA lineups that they're going to be on try to win games. So their focus was a little bit different compared to this last category that I'm going to talk about. That was late first round picks, second round picks, undrafted guys, G leaguers, etc. Guys who are trying to earn themselves a spot, right? These guys are not star prospects. These guys are not lottery selections. They don't necessarily know that they have a guaranteed place on an NBA roster come the fall. So they're trying to earn that spot. They're trying to get onto a roster. They're trying to, if they can't get onto a roster, secure a spot as maybe one of the top players on a G League team, something like that. But just trying to establish their place in the pecking order, whatever that place is. And honestly, this was the largest category for this Summer League. This is where we look at guys like Orlando Robinson, Sam Merrill, Lester, I still don't know how to pronounce this one, but Quinones, I think that's correct. He's got an and yeah, whatever. Hunter Tyson, Max Christie, Javon Freeman Liberty, Imani Bates, Jordan Walsh, Isaiah Mobley, guys like that. Guys who are trying to present themselves as a diamond in the rough, right? A guy who's trying to present himself as, I was taken in the late first, I was taken in the second, I was undrafted entirely, but I can still make contributions to a team. But the way in which they showed that here in Summer League had to be different from the last category I talked about. With that previous category I mentioned, these guys are not overly caring about their scoring output or their stat lines, right? They're trying to prove that they can play consistently, play in a system, and contribute to an NBA roster. The guys in this last category, they were trying to light it up. They were trying to go out and post gaudy stat lines, get as many points as possible, pull down double-digit boards, do anything to make their stat line look unique, look impressive, unique in good ways, right? I mean, Jesus, if you go out and turn the ball over like 10 times, that's still unique, but that's not really helpful. But they were trying to do something to attract attention to themselves because they don't have a secure spot on a roster. Their positions are not nearly as secure as those higher draft picks. So Those guys were just looking to increase their playing time because they knew that they already had a spot. These guys are actually looking to get on a team in the first place. So that's why you need to go out and try to score all these points, try to get double-digit rebounds. Because, sure, the same principle sort of applies here, right? These players won't have nearly the same number of offensive opportunities if they do end up on a real team, but the massive stat lines, the 25 to 30 point scoring guys, right? Sure, you're not going to score nearly that many points if you do make it onto a team, but you have to get that scoring output there to attract the attention that you need to even get onto a roster, right? For the previous guys that we mentioned in the last section, Jabari Smith Jr., Cam Whitmore, Keontae George, Grady Dick, Shaden Sharp, the teams that those players belong to are looking to give them a spot. They're just asking them to prove that they deserve the spot. For this last category, no spot is necessarily offered to them just yet. They have to go out and force someone to pay attention to them, which is why they're trying to, in effect, sort of stuff their stat sheet as much as humanly possible to get that attention. So that is why we saw a lot of guys put up a lot of points in these events. They were trying to get a scout or a head coach or anyone on any coaching staff to notice them and sort of keep them in mind as these teams prepare preseason rosters for sure, training camp invites for sure, and then maybe even more ambitiously looking to the actual full active rosters once the season begins. So yeah, those were the three sort of types of players that we saw kind of going down the list from, insanely secure star prospects to relatively safe guys looking for playing time, all the way down to dudes just looking to attract attention and earn a spot by any means necessary. And of course, I don't want that to color your perception of any of those guys in any of these categories, right? Everyone comes into Summer League needing different things as players. That's one of the real beauties of Summer League, other than actually getting to watch basketball in the middle of July. That's kind of nice too. But that's the point. Summer League is a showcase, and different guys are going to be looking to showcase different aspects of their own game, and their situations are clearly going to be different. But that's the point of Summer League, and it did exactly that, right? There were some encouraging performances across the board, but now is when we reel it back just a little bit, right? Now is when we sort of get the realistic aspect into the equation here, because we do need to temper expectations, right? Summer League was a chance for a lot of these guys to get some fantastic experience playing up against other guys of their level, playing against their peers. A lot of the guys who did play in Summer League have really only previous experience at maybe the college level, college, high school, high level AAU, things like that, and haven't necessarily gone up against a team full of guys like them, right? When you're playing in high school and college, you're clearly the best player on your team, and all the other guys are maybe a step or two below you. Maybe not including like one or two guys in terms of your teammates or the opposing team. Now in the Summer League, you are playing against guys who are all prospects like you, right? It's a relatively even playing field outside of, when a top 3, top 5 draft pick gets involved, maybe you're a little bit outclassed, but it's a good level of experience for all these guys to get. But it is important to remember, if they do make it to an NBA roster, they're going to be playing up against NBA level, NBA caliber players, right? So those top guys who put up those monster stat lines, those guys who averaged 20 plus points, and there were quite a few of them, they certainly showed off a strength of their game. They showed the ability to score. They showed the ability to work within an offense, or in some cases even to lead an offense. And they showed that they're able to grow, right? They have potential. They can grow and they can adapt to the NBA level. But barely any of the stats that you saw in Summer League are going to carry over fully into the NBA season, right? I mean, it was impressive, some of the stat lines that got put up, but when you get to the NBA, when you are going up against the starting lineup of a real NBA team, you're going to be hard pressed to find a rookie who's going to go out there and score, 20 points a game. You're going to be impressed if your rookie goes out there and comes even close to 10 points per game, because obviously they're going to get probably less than half the playing time, definitely fewer than half the shot opportunities. So the performances that you saw here in Summer League were effectively a proof of concept, right? You wanted to see what the strengths of a player's game were and what aspects need to be improved as you head into training camp and into the preseason period. But none of this is indicative of actual real production at the NBA level. And I know to a certain extent that seems obvious and everyone probably knows that in the back of their minds, but it is worth reminding people of, right? Obviously, Summer League is encouraging. It gave you the chance to see some of the young guys go out there and show their potential. But we can't forget its potential. It's not fully realized just yet, and the guys that you saw in Summer League are most likely going to get extremely limited time once the regular season begins. But you know what they're capable of. And to me, that's going to make their play in the regular season maybe a little bit more exciting. And instead of a guy who is coming off the bench and going to play 5 minutes, who you only heard about back in June in the draft, you can say, you know, oh, I watched that guy's highlights. I watched that guy in Summer League. I know what he can do with the ball in his hands, or maybe even not with the ball in his hands for some of these guys. And it will make seeing their development in real time maybe a little bit more exciting, more interesting for fans, because you got to see what that player is building towards. Instead of just a vaguely defined, you know, he'll be better in some way. You got to see him at what full strength could look like in the Summer League, and then in the regular season, you'll see them build towards that slowly. Of course, I am a massive basketball nerd, so that's the kind of stuff that I like to see. I like the glimpse of what can be and then watching them build towards that. But for everyone else, you know, you got to see some basketball in July. You got to see actual competitive games. So definitely doing what it was meant to, the Summer League, right? Giving us the chance to talk about some young players, establish some sort of storylines and narratives going into the next season, and see a little bit of what these guys are capable of. But that's just my thoughts on it. Obviously, if you are a fan of a team who took a guy with a high draft pick, or has a guy who performed pretty well, you're probably feeling a little bit higher in terms of your excitement level than most, and that's perfectly fine. You know, that's exactly what the Summer League is for. But yeah, let me know what you think. Who were some players that honestly you didn't expect to perform who did? Who are some guys that you went into Summer League trying to watch? Did they match up to your expectations or not? Let me know who you think is a potential sort of breakout first or second year player heading into that regular season. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.